When researching any financial topic, you're going to find a lot of opinions. In today's episode, we're going to pick sides on some of the most debated. Paying off your home mortgage early, 401k versus Roth, using individual stocks versus ETFs and mutual funds, when to start your Social Security, and is life insurance needed in retirement. Stick around for our opinions to help you build wealth and reduce your long-term tax picture.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Well, glad to have you back on Your Life, Your Money. I know, Scott, we're going to put you on the spot today a little bit and actually make you pick sides. I know that, as your job as an advisor is to kind of stay neutral and then take every client and pick the best path for them. But I want to kind of get your thoughts, just generally speaking, on some important financial debates and let you weigh in on those today.
Yeah, Ben, I'm looking forward to the episode and the discussion. And I get it. You're gonna put a little pressure on me. It's not too often as people probably listen to our conversations, that we'll take a hard side. So I will give my opinions. I'll pick a side, but I might explain the gray area as well.
Yeah, we want to hear all sides of it on today's episode, so it should be a lot of fun. Also want to mention, too, we created a new landing page on the website, lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. Again, lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. And you want this to kind of be a hub, a place for people to get information, Scott. So explain kind of quickly what people can expect to find there.
Yeah, so people can expect to find there a guide to help them understand tax strategies and how they could potentially reduce their long-term taxes. As you know, taxes is a thing that we continue to talk about on the show. And one of our goals just as a company and to help people reduce their long-term tax burden. I'm not a big fan of taxes, and the more that I can keep in my pocket and the more that we can help people keep of their hard-earned retirement savings in their pocket versus giving it to the IRS, we love to do that. So again, if they go to lifemoneyshow.com/taxes, they can put in their email address and their name, and they'll then get the guide, and it'll talk about tax strategies and opportunities to help reduce their long-term tax burden.
I love it. So check it out. Give us some feedback if you have any. And if you have further questions for Scott, you can always get in touch with them. But again, start there, get that guide to taxes, and see if it can help you out on your financial plan. All right. So let's jump into this conversation today, Scott. Again, we're going to have you pick sides on some important financial debates, from bonds to life insurance, credit card debt. We're going to get through a lot of different things and see which side you're on and figure out, again, some of the gray areas and some of the pros and cons for both sides, but we'll lean at least one direction on each one of these. So let's start off with the mortgage. Interest rates now, as we recorded this, have crept back over 6. I know that's a lot higher than they were even 9 or 10 months ago, but still they are in a pretty historically low position. So the debate is, should you pay off your house as soon as you can?
Boy, and this is a really tough one. This is one I think that people just continue to go back and forth on. So, all right, I'll give my opinion. First off, I would say yes. My opinion is to pay it off as soon as you can. And I will say this is based on, working with primarily retirees, people that are age 55 plus. I would say in my experience, working with folks that have retired and that have their home paid off, I find that they're typically, have less stress going on because they just have that one less thing to worry about. I've always been a huge proponent on paying off that mortgage first, but gosh, Ben, now things have kind of changed in my world where at towards the end of last year, I think it was last August, I was able to, refinance to a lower term and a much lower rate. I got down to 2.5% for a 15-year mortgage. So, that's the area, right? Because you look at it and you say, okay, for me, I, just turned 40, paying it off over that 15 years, if I were to take, any surplus that I had and had to make that decision, should I put it in the market or pay off this mortgage? one could argue that you could, make more in the market over 15 years than that 2.5% mortgage. However, though, as you just mentioned, rates start to climb to 5%, 6%, and depending on what somebody's mortgage rate is, then it might make a whole lot less sense. So in the end, if you want me to pick a side, I still like just paying it down. It's less interest that you're paying to the bank. But I totally understand that gray area, and I think it does depend on what kind of rate you're looking at with your mortgage.
Yeah, I feel like you can't go wrong by eliminating all your debt, right?
Yeah.
You might lose a little growth potentially, I guess, but especially if it makes you feel better and sleep better, that's always a factor to kind of continue to think about.
And as folks that are going into retirement, it's just one less bill to worry about, one less thing to focus on. Then you're looking at your retirement funds going, hey, this is everything that we've got here. We don't have to worry about those bills like our mortgage. This is now for other things like trips, vacations, all the fun things that that you might want to do. And so just having that paid off, I've just seen working with folks that it I don't know. You can just kind of see a difference in how it helps them reduce their overall stress levels.
All right, that's the first debate here. And how about the second one? Nobody needs life insurance once they're retired.
All right, again, if I have to pick a side, I'm gonna make a little clarification point here. I'm going to assume that somebody's done proper planning, and they've done not only proper planning, they've saved up enough for their retirement. And if so, then I would say life insurance really wouldn't be needed in retirement. If I had to pick a side, but I get all those clarity points along with my side there, Ben. And I think, and in my opinion, as you go into retirement, that's when you're transitioning from life insurance, protecting, your spouse, protecting your children if something were to happen to you. Maybe, by that time, you've saved up enough. By that time, maybe your children have graduated from college, debts are paid off. So nobody at this point in time is, reliant on your income. And if somebody's not reliant on your income, is life insurance really needed? And so if you've moved past all of those points, it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really needed. But let's just kind of talk about maybe a few different categories where it might be needed. So let's just say someone hasn't saved up enough for their retirement, or maybe that, one of the spouses has a pension, and if they were to pass away, that pension gets cut in half, or sometimes there's no spousal benefits on those pensions. So if they're really reliant on that pension for retirement, and then it'll disappear for the remaining spouse, that might be a time where you want to consider life insurance, because then you're protecting the income needs for that second spouse if the first spouse were to pass away. If you didn't have enough saved up, again, it's protecting the income needs for that second spouse if the first person were to pass away. The category we've talked about, if you've already saved enough, you look at your income plan, if one person were to pass away, you don't see any sort of issues, then it's not needed. And then there's kind of a third category where it can be looked at for, I'll say, tax strategies and estate planning. If you've saved up a significant amount and you're looking at potential estate taxes, whether it be on a federal level or a state level, that's where life insurance can come in, where you're using life insurance to help pay for those potential estate taxes. Just a quick story here. Working with different clients, when they come in, we're always reviewing their current life insurance policies. And as we go through the plan, a lot of people fall into that, second or third column there, the second or third category of having enough saved or looking at it for estate planning. And, as we go through, a lot of times we're looking at those policies and having that discussion with someone and say, okay, why do you have this? You can kind of see the wheels start turning, because as they're looking at their plan and they're realizing that they have enough for their retirement, the wheels start turning to go, why am I still paying on that, life insurance? And so not only why do you have it, do you still need it? And it gives them that opportunity to go home and say, okay, hey, our plan looks okay, why are we still paying the premiums on this life insurance? And it's sometimes one of those emotional things, right? You've just been paying on it and you're like, well, what if I stop and if something happens? But again, if your plan's okay, you might not need it, and you might be able to save on those premiums that you've been paying out.
A lot of things to think about with life insurance. So something to sit down with your advisor on. If you have questions, if you think about, hey, maybe I want to get rid of it, or what are my other strategies that I can maybe apply with my life insurance policy? Again, a great time to sit down with your advisor and discuss that. All right, third one on our list here. Taxes, Scott. We led off the show about taxes, so let's add a little tax conversation into this episode. You'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, so it's best to defer taxes now and pay them later.
Well, I've got a pretty strong opinion on this one, Bet. I'm guessing you might be able to guess it. I actually disagree with this point here. My opinion is that taxes are going to continue to go up. I mean, if you look at the national debt clock, it's that clock that just keeps ticking of, the trillions of dollars of debt that we're in, and it just continues to go up, each and every day. So national debt continues to go up. In my opinion, at some point in time, taxes have to go up, whether it be to cover national debt, whether it be to cover potential shortfalls in Social Security. And frankly, just the one tax act that is out there right now, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017, that's scheduled to expire at the end of 2025. And, this is not a political comment. It's just looking at the facts. It's actually one way. So in 2017, they lowered taxes, this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, lowered taxes almost for, across the board for all of the different tax brackets. It expires in 2025. In my opinion, this is an easy way for Congress, both parties, just to kind of wipe their hands and go, well, look at that. It expires. Tax rates are going up. And, while I'm sitting here picking a side, neither of them have to pick a side, right? They just kind of let it expire and go up. So that's one way right there that taxes are going up. Or potentially going up. So I look at it as, hey, right now, does it make more sense? And this is the side that I'm picking, is it may make more sense to focus on the Roth IRAs, the Roth 401ks, potentially looking at Roth conversions, paying that tax today. So if you're going to take money out of your IRA to put it in your Roth, but paying that tax today to get it in that tax-free bucket where it grows tax-free. And, right now the Roth is a bucket where the way that it's set up is that you'll never pay taxes again on that bucket of money. But there is a lot, that's my opinions. That's, if you made me pick the side, Ben, but there is a lot of gray area here. And it all depends on, what the person is making today. Work with several clients that are in have a higher income coming in. Based on the higher income that they have coming in, they're in a higher tax bracket. For them, it actually does make sense to, look at deferring their taxes today. For others, based on where they're at, and as we run some tax projections, they've been deferring taxes. They've saved up a significant amount into their 401ks. And as we look at some projections based on how much they've saved in their 401ks and having to take required distributions later on in life, they're potentially looking at being at with a higher taxable income in their future than where they're at today. So by using that tax deferred bucket, they're actually costing themselves more taxes in the future. So a lot of gray area. It depends. I feel like the number one thing here to do is tax planning and tax projections, looking forward, not only looking at next year, but looking at the next 10, 20, and 30 years, just where your taxable income could potentially be, and then going back to today to determine which tax bucket is the best to save in.
Yeah, again, lifemoneyshow.com/taxes to get some more information on tax planning and tax strategies. And again, if you have more questions for Scott, he's obviously very passionate about this topic. So it's one that he's happy to help you with if you want to discuss further, but it is an important one to make sure you are working with in your financial plan. All right, our next financial debate for you to pick a side on, it's better to buy mutual funds or ETFs instead of buying individual stocks.
In this one, I agree with.
Okay.
I head down this path. I'll take a strong opinion right away. I really like exchange traded funds or mutual funds over individual stocks. And my main preference is actually the ETFs, the exchange traded funds. I feel like owning a pool, an exchange traded fund is a pool of stocks that you would own, and I feel like owning that pool of stocks helps put a person in a much better position. And I was like utilizing this analogy of two elevators side by side. So I'm guessing summertime, we've got a lot of people vacationing. I know, Ben, you're taking an upcoming vacation as well here, but let's just say you're getting in the elevators for the hotel. You've got to go 20 stories up, two elevators side by side. It's this nice glass wall. You look through the glass wall and you see the elevator on the left has one string holding it up, and the elevator on the right has hundreds of strings holding it up. Which one you jumping on?
I'm going to go right.
Yeah, and I would think most people would as well, and that's kind of the comparison here. Being in individual stocks is like being or jumping on that elevator in the left, and while it could go really, really well, it also could snap and go really, really bad. But jumping in that elevator on the right, when you own an exchange traded fund or a mutual fund, you're owning maybe tens to hundreds of stocks, so hundreds of strings supporting that elevator. So if one of those stocks in that pool of funds, breaks, if one of those strings break, you still have, hundreds of other strings potentially holding you up. And so that's why I like and prefer the mutual funds or exchange traded funds. And I feel like it provides people more support in their overall investment plan.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. All right. Our last one on the list to discuss today on Your Life, Your Money is Social Security related. So you should start your Social Security as early as possible to ensure that you get your money out of the system.
Boy, and picking a side on this one, and I'm sure people who have listened to us visit about Social Security, I've got to take the other side on this one, Ben. I'm going to say I really feel like people should wait as long as possible.
Okay.
That's my opinion, and again, it depends on everybody's plan. But this is your kind of like your retirement pension for life, and waiting as long as possible gives you a really good solid base that you'll be getting cost of living adjustments on. So, if you take your Social Security early, that's the number that all of your future adjustments will be based on. But if you wait till age 70, when they come out with whatever their cost of living adjustments are, I think last year it was 5.9%. Who knows, it'll be this next year with inflation rising as much as it has. But that's that number that your increase will be based on. So I like folks waiting at least for one, if there's a couple, I like one spouse at least waiting as long as they possibly can. Every year that you delay, you get that 8% growth on the Social Security. And something that you always have to be thinking about is that, again, for couples, if one spouse passes, you only get to keep one of the two Social Securities. You don't get to keep both. And, unfortunately, I've, met different spouses, or I'll say widows, coming in to sit down and visit, going over their retirement plan. And that is one thing that has really impacted them, is when their spouse passed away and their income, their guaranteed Social Security income got cut in half. And that could be a really stressful event if you haven't planned for it or thought in advance about it. And so that's why I like to pick the side. I guess I always, say plan for the worst and live the best. And so I always like picking the side of, waiting at least for one person as long as possible. But the overall on this is that, we want to compare to your income plan and to how much you've got in retirement savings. Because, hey, if you've got, plenty of money in your retirement savings that you'll never run out, and again, if you're a married couple too, that if one person passes away and you'll never run out, well, heck, it might make sense then to take your Social Security early and reinvest it. But the other things could take place as well. So to me, it depends not only on how long you're going to live, but what you've got in your retirement savings and how you're going to fill that gap, whether you're alive, whether two people are alive, and go from there.
Yeah, with all these, we had you pick a side, but again, everybody's situation is different. So just because Scott feels one way about something doesn't mean it necessarily will apply to you. So the best thing to do is always to sit down with your advisor and make sure that you're getting that worked out. And Sierens Financial Group's always there to help you out. And again, with that tax information that's on there, the tax planning strategy that will be on the website, you can find lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. Check it out when you get done. I think you'll enjoy it. And again, any questions you have pointing towards Scott, or if you just want to talk more about your financial plan, you can do so right there on the website. All right, Scott, about a mailbag question before we get out of here today.
Sounds good. What do we have?
We got one in from Charlotte. Here's what she said. She said, I'm retiring in the latter half of the year. Exact date is to be determined still. And amazingly, I'll have about 16 weeks of unused vacation and sick leave that they'll have to pay me. I'm told that I can take this all in my final paycheck or continue being paid on my normal schedule every 2 weeks for a few months after I retire. Does it matter which way I do it?
Okay, so I'm going to start from a really high level here and say, quick answer is no, it really doesn't matter. However, for someone like me that's focused on taxes, and we talk about taxes a lot in our show here, Ben, that's maybe something that Charlotte wants to think about. Now, we're talking about this in the middle of the year, so 16 weeks, Charlotte would, be paid out through the end of this year, and it really wouldn't change this answer from a tax standpoint. But let's just say this was in November, and, Charlotte had this opportunity then to take that lump sum or take all of that up front or stretch it out over the 16 weeks. Is that what it was? It was 16 weeks, right?
Correct.
And so then she might want to stretch it out over the 16 weeks, and that stretches her tax liability or some of this income into another year where if she is retiring, she might be in a lower bracket because she'll have less taxable income coming in. So that's one thing to think about is the taxes. The other is, it might just help somebody from that emotional standpoint stretching this out because it's like they're continuing to get those paychecks and it's helping them transition into that next stage of life where the company paychecks are typically no longer coming in. And it will help them transition as they start, cutting those retirement paychecks from their retirement savings. So maybe they can kind of do a little bit of a combination of the vacation money and sick leave money coming in as they're taking some withdrawals from their retirement accounts. But hey, first off, what a great deal having 16 weeks of vacation money coming in. That's not a bad way to get started in retirement.
No, a little 4-month payout essentially. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, be a great way to get started.
Yeah, good situation to be in, Charlotte, and a great question to be asking. There are some things to be thinking about before you make that final decision. So again, check out the website, lifemoneyshow.com. Also add on /taxes to get the information that Scott's providing right there, all tax related to help you out as you need. As you can tell, tax planning is very important for a lot of different aspects of the things that you're trying to do with your money. So again, you want to maximize that. And a great place to start is, again, lifemoneyshow.com/taxes. All right, Scott, we will close out this episode of Your Life, Your Money. Always enjoy hearing from you, but even better to put you on the spot, but you deliver as always.
Well, great conversation, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Your Life, Your Money. For Scott Sierens over at Sierens Financial Group, I am Ben George. We'll talk to you soon.
Sierens Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.